What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Popcorn People podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we have a fun one for you as we are going to talk about majority of the show, Bad Boys Ride or Die. I'm going to give you some brief thoughts of some other movies that we've watched, along with talking about the box office. As always, I'm joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you, buddy?
Yo, what's popping kernels? Man, I'm good, man. It's this week I feel like I know Furiosa was supposed to kind of kick off the summer, but this week felt like a proper kickoff to the summer, which we'll get into. But I'm good, man. I had a little turkey burger. She was delicious, and feeling kind of good.
Man, I like it. I like it a lot. You know what I mean? This weekend at the box office was definitely interesting. I had a little bit of just chill. It's kind of crazy how fast our weekends fly by. You know what I mean? I was off a little bit, for a while from my injury, and trying to get back in the swing of things has been hard. You know what I mean? Being a normal person in society again, working, getting up. So it feels like Sunday night just flies into here, like no questions asked, right off the rip, no questions. So, but for me, like this week has been really good to see, right? I really love to see that Bad Boys overachieved. And I'm going to just start off with just a little bit of a rant. So, don't mind me. I'm talking to the many trade outlets in the world that came for Will Smith ahead of the release of Bad Boys Ride or Die. Now, let me stop this by saying it was almost as if when they wrote these pieces, you were hoping that this film wouldn't succeed because of what transpired 2 years ago. I'm looking at you, Variety, and Hollywood Reporter, to name a few, but you guys wanted to create this thing where the slap was such a big ordeal and wanted to cause a stir with clicks by saying, oh no, is the world going to be okay with Will Smith after the slap? 95% of America was okay after he smacked the shit out of Chris Rock. But take that scenario completely out of the equation, okay? You have a man that is getting ready to release a film in theaters in a theatrical atmosphere that has been struggling a little bit over the last few weeks. So kind of wishing a bad movie release for this film just because of the slap was insane. What are we doing? Why are we not talking about Shia LaBeouf and this whole Francis Ford Coppola movie in the same manner? Johnny Depp is lingering around here. P. Diddy is out in the world still. Chris Brown has had a career resurgence after the pictures that we saw of what he did. This man still hit record after hit record after hit record. Nothing was done to this man. But this man gets on a stage, defends his wife's honor. However you look at that, smacks a man across the back. Was it right? Probably not. You know what I mean? But that's neither here or there. But why are we gassing up this thing, the blatant ugliness on their part, even after the monumental box office weekend where we see Will continue to save the summer box office? They have the nerve to continue to be like, oh, well, I guess America forgot about the slap. Can we not forget that Will Smith is a $9 billion man at the box office? Put some fucking respect on that man's name. Move on. Congratulations, Will fucking Smith, on another box office hit. Thank you. That's all I've got, Dom.
No, man, it's funny because you can look at this in kind of a historical aspect, right? When something happens to or is done by a person of color, it seems to linger a lot longer in the media, right? Take something like which is going to sound, it's a heavy subject, but 9/11, right? Never forget. That's always the thing. Never forget, never forget, never forget. Bring up Jim Crow. You bring up slavery. Oh, that was a long time ago. Why are we still talking about this, right? You have the whole ordeal with Depp, and no one talks about it anymore. Will Smith slapped somebody. He didn't beat the hell out of Chris Rock. He didn't stomp him out. He didn't
hit a woman.
Right. He did what I think what we see praised in comment sections of of white men shooters defending their homes, defending their kids. They get praised. Let this man out of jail. Free this guy. He did nothing wrong. And whether it was words or not, Will felt the need that he needed to defend his wife on national TV because he felt like a boundary was overstepped, because there is a history between them. Could he have done it off screen behind it? Yeah, he could have, but his emotions got to him, and he felt like he needed to do what he wanted to do. And Chris didn't press any charges, and they both moved on. Chris took it and does what comedians do and puts it into his art. Will sat with his thoughts, recognized that he messed up. He made an apology, whether you want to accept it or not, and then you move the fuck on. People fuck up, but like Marlon Wayans said, he was the perfect Negro, right? He was the one that was like, he's not black, he's Will Smith, right? So when he made a mistake, it was like, oh, see, look, he's just like, he's this and this. And then it turns into this racial thing where, well, that was the guy that we accepted, outside of the black community, that people were like, we accepted Will, we liked Will, and now he's like whatever we think other black people are like. Like I had told Ricky, I texted him, I said, I was afraid the numbers are going to be low. And I was like, man, historically, I looked this up recently. White people don't typically go see black movies, right? Unless the movie is somewhat of like, unfortunately, like a Madea movie, because it kind of plays on stereotypes that they're familiar with or comfortable with, whatever. And even though this one was a surprise that the numbers are there, but historically that doesn't happen. And then you do see people in comments, I'm not going to support Will Smith. I'm not going. Do you know how many people do bad shit every day? You know how many companies you buy from who do bad shit every day, and you buy their stuff? You know what I mean? Like Amazon, the grocery stores, Walmart, all these companies, profiting off slave labor and whatever else they're doing over in Africa with the cobalt mines and stuff. And you're mad that somebody got slapped? Shut the hell up, man.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting to and it's crazy because it comes from these trades that aren't, I mean, just point cut and dry. Like, I mean, Will's black. You can't point at nothing other than the fact that this stems from some sort of racism built within society inside of these trades. You know what I mean? You can't help but look at it because you don't see this same magnitude towards other individuals. Like, why are we so gung-ho about one incident? You know what I mean? And again, sure, did he assault a man? Yeah. Did he probably do it in a public place and he shouldn't have? Sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, he made a mistake. He's a fucking human being. We all make mistakes. He apologized for his action. Chris Rock didn't press any charges. So who the fuck cares? Move the fuck on.
Yeah, if Chris don't care, then why do you care so much? Like, they handled it. They handled it like men, I'm sure, after the fact. They made some phone calls, they sat down, whatever, and it's over with. Yeah, Chris may never forget. He may have his guard up around Will, but he moved on because he doesn't want that to be his legacy. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
It shouldn't be Will's, because how can you let 50 something years or what I guess maybe 30 something years of entertainment that he's done and the numbers he's broken, awards he's won, be completely wiped away by one mistake? And there's, like you said, there's people who have made the gravest of mistakes and have been able to like move on. And this one, for some reason, is crazy. And it goes to that point of people wanting to tear somebody down who's at the top. It's that whole was it Dark Knight quote, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. It's unfortunate that people are holding on to that, and you want to skip out on seeing a fantastic movie because like he did something to someone I don't even know and I just can't do that. It's like there's a lot worse he could have done, and he didn't do that.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of which, let's talk about the box office this weekend. Obviously, it grossed $56 million in the United States. It's globally at around a little over $100 million, which means the budget is back. But obviously, you have to make 2.5 times your money. So it's still got a little bit of way to go to break even, or at least, break even and then start making a little bit of money. But that's still a monumental opening weekend for Bad Boys after quite a few lackluster weekends. Coming to number 2, Garfield, still strong. Garfield is making money
somehow,
hand over fist. It's the number 2 movie in America last week. It went up to number 1. It's currently sitting at $192 million worldwide on that puny little $60 million budget. It's probably going to go around $300 million. So good for them, honestly. I mean, the movie's not great, but it is what it is. One film that I'm starting to like to see that the numbers are starting to come in a little bit more and more for is coming in at number 3 this weekend was If, only down 23% over last weekend. It looks like the legs are helping out a little bit, which is kind of surprising to me, just based on what we've seen enter the marketplace. So it really hasn't been superly hindered by Garfield. It looks like both films have a spot for themselves in the marketplace, obviously with being the number 2 and number 3 film in the box office. So obviously it dropped a mere 23%. It's around $160 million worldwide. The number needs to go up a little bit. The film's budget was a little over $100 million, so they need to get moving on that, but still very happy about it. Another new movie of the weekend dropped, coming in at number 4, coming in 4th place was The Watchers. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head, wrote and directed her first film. The film came in around $7 million, which is very, very lackluster. I do think that came in exactly. I totally agree. He seems like one of the genuine stars in Hollywood, talking about Will Smith. If you guys watch the video that came out of him watching his movie, and then he comes out of the movie theater and people didn't realize that he was watching it with them, they freak the fuck out, and he just hugs everybody, talks to everybody, shoots the shit. Fantastic. But The Watchers came in under expectations across the board. Not really surprising. I didn't realize that Universal, I think it is, bought this film for $30 million. That's a lot of money for a horror movie, especially for a first horror movie. But that's got a long way to climb. And then, of course, there's just so many horror movies in the marketplace. Coming in number 5th place, holding strong, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a great film, only down 39% this weekend. Very happy to see this film continue to have the legs that it has. It's sitting around $359 million at the box office. And one of the biggest things of note to recognize is to see Furiosa in its 3rd weekend drop from 2 to 6, dropping 60%. Only making $4 million. It's sitting around $144 million worldwide. Not surprising to see this film continue to drop because it's not that great of a film. Word of mouth has not been kind to that movie. So it's sitting at 144 worldwide. It would need to hit about 400 million for it to even break even. And that's not going to happen. So hopefully that franchise is DOA.
Man, so I was thinking about this today. I think we've probably talked about it once before. If I don't think these businesses, as specifically the movie business, realize, hey, if we can get these ticket prices down back to what they once were when we were in high school, those are back in the days when you would go see 2 or 3 movies in one day because they're not that expensive. And I feel like, we talk about numbers, and the numbers are a little, it's there, but it's not there because the money is there because the prices are so expensive. But when you look in these theaters, they're not super packed, because if you want to go see IMAX or Dolby 48, you're spending $30-$40 for one ticket. If you can get that down, if they can get this back to where one ticket is, $8 or something, people are willing to take a chance on something they normally wouldn't see if you bring the prices down. And you have people there was that one time when, let's say when the MCU first gets started, right? People are like, I saw the movie 3 or 4 times because the prices were way lower And no one's doing that anymore unless you have like a AMC Stubs, Regal Unlimited, which you're not going to see that kind of same numbers because I've already paid a month for X amount of tickets or whatever. So they have to find a way to bring that down. Like I know a guy, well, I don't know him, but my grandpa is a t-shirt vendor. We were in New Orleans. A guy's on some a private lot off to the side selling CDs and DVDs, right? They're probably bootleg. I don't ask no questions. But CDs, $1. DVDs, $2. In 2 days, this man makes $20,000. You know why? Because it's $1. I'm going to take a risk on an album I might not listen to. I'm going to take a risk on a movie I might not normally watch. So that's the mindset if these businesses need to like take into account. Yeah, you want to make all this money. You can make the same money and still have the product be cheaper because you're going to double the attendance. But when we talked about this last week, when you have things going to streaming, people are just like, I'm going to wait to go to streaming because it's too expensive. I want to watch it at home, whatever the case. So the movie theater, do you remember when we were younger, you went to a movie, you had to wait in line sometimes because it was open the weekend and that experience was like, it was fun. Oh, we're going to get there early. That kind of thing is not
it's
here
another thing
anymore.
that's crazy. My brother mentioned to me, my brother's not a super avid moviegoer. You've met my brother, but like he's one thing he notices. He said the one thing that also killed it was the idea of being able to pick your seat. He said he thinks about this. He said he has a specific spot in the theater he sits. If he goes in to buy tickets to see a movie, and that seat that spot's taken, he's not going. Like he just won't go to. And sure, is that like a nitpicky? Absolutely. But remember back in the day, you arrived at the theater, man, you had to pull up early just because you wanted to get the damn seat you wanted to get.
You sit where you sit, you get what you get.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I talk about my buddy all the time. I talk about my boy Matt all the time. We went and saw Split, and he still to this day tells me he's only seen 1/3 of the movie because when we showed up, we got front like second row seats all the way off to the left. You know what I mean? You could only see damn a quarter of the damn screen without your head like this the entire time. You know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of different things that have happened over the last few years. It's like, yeah, bring these ticket prices down. And I mean, to be honest with you, people stop sneaking so many damn concessions in if you made concessions a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
You've been selling these selling these boxes of Milk Duds for $6 that I can get at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. Like, come on, you have to make that much of a profit off that shit.
And if you bring the ticket prices down, you don't even have, if you don't want to, you don't gotta drop the snacks down as much because the ticket prices are down. But it's the fact that if I'm doing both, I'm like, hey, where them dollar store Twizzlers at? Because I'm not paying $3-4 for this damn bag that's $1. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's insane. It blows my mind. I cannot believe it. I don't know what else to say. But you know what? Let's talk about that #1 movie of the weekend in Bad Boys.
Yeah. Bad Boys Ride or Die, directed by Adil and Bilal. When their late police captain gets linked to drug cartels, wisecracking Miami cops Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett embark on a dangerous mission to clear his name. Of course, starring the dynamic duo of Will Smith and Mark Lawrence. We also have returning Jacob Scipio, I believe is how you say his name, Paula Nunez, Eric Dane, Vanessa Hudgens, Tasha Smith, a little little peek of Joyner Lucas, Melanie LeBird, Rhea Seahorn, Alexander Ludwig. I'll go first this time. This franchise means a lot to a lot of people, and not just because of who is playing these roles, but the kind of role they were given, right? When it dropped, the first film drops in the 90s and you get to see, we had our Beverly Hills Cop, right? But it was a little more tongue in cheek and the action wasn't as big. And then you get in the 90s, we have 2 young black cops and they're kicking ass, taking names, bringing down these bad guys, and the bad guys don't always have to look like them. That's dope, right? And then fast forward, you get Bad Boys 2, and we're waiting forever for the sequel. We get it, we love it. The Reggie scene, phenomenal. When we get the third one, during the pandemic, and again, we get a new twist on the story, and you're like, oh shit, Mike's got a son. This is crazy. And he was trying to murk them. Fast forward to now, Ride or Die, and the stakes are higher. The script and the storyline has aged with our two characters, where they're still trying to keep it going when they know they should probably settle down, but it's hard. We've been locked in for so long, and you want to rid the world of these bad guys, especially when they're coming directly at you. That, you know, hey, retirement can wait. I'll sleep when I'm dead. And we get another epic, bombastic event in this Ride or Die installment, where, you know, we get more heart than we've gotten before, where Mike is struggling. Marcus is having a thing going on that you're like, oh no, like what's going on with Marcus? And we get reunited with the Ammo team, where the once kind of love affair that we didn't know that was going on with Mike and Paula's character is now she's running shit. And now they have to help stop their old captain's name from the captain we all know and love. We love that super intense, heart attack almost inducing temper he has, but he loved the boys. And now he's been slandered. And of course they got his back. Man, this movie, the explosions, the action, the chases, we get some of the stuff that we know and love with the car scenes where Mike is whipping it through the city, reckless abandon. And he's like, you know what? I'm Mike and I'm a cop. I'm going to do what I want to do. We get the same kind of flashiness, except that now, Mike his heart's a little different than it has ever been before. And also Marcus's heart is different than ever before. So we have these two journeys meshed into one, along with them having to add a trio in Mike's son, Armando, who we know is this prolific killer, badass, and still is that badass. And I mean, the pacing, the look, the set pieces, the vibrancy of Miami again is fantastic. And then I have to say, I'm glad I put it in my review, because it seems to be what everyone is talking about. Just like Bad Boys 2, we get a Reggie scene. And this Reggie scene is probably going to be, because of the context of the series, it's going to be one of the best scenes of the year. It is fantastic. You don't see it coming. And it just makes the closing of the film that much more sweet. I love this film. It's one of those ones where I believe I gave it a 9 out of 10. And I was like, you know what? It might need to go more, because the more I think about it, I like it more. It might end up getting a 10. I don't know. But this is one that's definitely worth seeing. If you love the franchise, even if you're new to the franchise, you don't necessarily have to have seen all of them, but it definitely helps. They do some callbacks, but they do show you some of the past events that kind of are tied into this franchise. And I don't know if they're going to make any more, because the ending is kind of up in the air. They could stop it. They could keep going. I personally would love to see more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So going into this film, had some questions, concerns. Maybe they had over exerted the storyline, but you know what? I walked away from this so happy. The thing about it is like what you said. To me, when you're looking at this franchise, when you're looking for this film, when it's released, it's a summer blockbuster. The summer blockbuster has been filled with massive disappointments. Whether you look at it across the board, there's been some good, some bad. But the return of Mike and Marcus, it was just so much fun. I recently rewatched these films. I don't know. This might be my favorite. You know what I mean? The OG has that nostalgia to it. You know what I mean? But this one to me, man, it's just good. I love the way that they handle the characters. I love Martin Lawrence's storyline. I love his rebirth, I guess you could say, within the film was very, very good. The way they utilized it, the comedic aspect of it, even the early banter between Will and Martin on their way to Will's or to Mike and Marcus's wedding. You know, they were on the way to the wedding. It's just so many different layers to it that we've been watching these guys for almost 30 years going 29 years or whatever, going back and forth. This film is fantastic. I'll tell you what, Adil and Balil's direction, there's a sequence that's been going around on social media, and it speaks to their concept, but obviously Will Smith isn't getting enough credit for how he shot that, because he's maneuvering it. Just go to Will Smith's Instagram, it's Twitter, watch that scene, watch how he shoots the scene. It shoots it like a damn video game. It's one of the coolest action sequences I've seen ever. It's just so cool. Everyone plays their part in this film. I think, Will and Martin still stand the test of time with their impeccable comedy timing. They play so well off each other. They're so funny. I think the writers do a great job of kind of sprinkling callbacks from the franchise throughout the film, which made it a little bit more fun than it already was. And I don't know, there was a surprisingly good amount of heart in this film that I didn't kind of foresee happening. And I think that's what this kind of stood apart from some of the other movies in the franchise. It was kind of a well-balanced script, but to me, I was blown away. I was really blown away by this. This is the perfect summer blockbuster. When you look at these films, when Dom's talking about Tenet, is this film the greatest movie ever made? No, but what this film is made for is for action, funny, comedy, and then you know what? They bring some extra layers in it that you don't see coming. This film was fantastic. I loved it. I can't wait to revisit it again. I wish movie theaters were cheaper, because I'd like to go watch it again, but I got to save my money to go see other movies because, but to me, this was just such a good time. I love Will. I love Martin. Would I be sad if they never made another one again? Probably not, just because I feel like this is the perfect homage to just saying goodbye. But would I be sad if they would I be happy if they made another one? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm on both sides of the fence there. But to me, fantastic movie. Loved it. Go see it. Go see it, please. Go see it twice, 3 times. Go see this instead of Furiosa. Yeah. Much better film.
The same feeling and love that people gave Top Gun Maverick as bringing the blockbusters back. This is the same type of vibe. It's big. It's the recognition, the nostalgia, and I feel like Will and Tom, they're kind of in the same boat as far as like they're Mr. Blockbusters. You know what I mean? Like those are the guys who ran the blockbusters through our childhood, and Will is back. Tom had his resurgence. Now Will is back, and there's like, if you come out of this movie and you don't feel like you feel happy, you feel like, rejuvenated, you watched the movie wrong. You were in there like wanting to hate it. You were hate watching it, because there's the way it ends. You can't not be like smiling ear to ear the way it ended. Like you just can't. And I've seen some of the haters in our field, our colleagues, if you will, and it honestly just feels like they went into the movie wanting to hate it because they have a personal vendetta against Will Smith. They want the retweets and the likes, and you're on the wrong side of history of this movie, dog. I'm sorry, because the more that people talk about this movie, it's only going to get bigger. And I think once it does, hit streaming, which I think is going to probably be a little later than usual with like other films, it's going to blow up even more. Like this movie is that good.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the thing about it is if you're trying to watch this movie, I've said this once, I'm going to say this 1,000 times. If you go in watching Bad Boys Ride or Die with the same mind frame, of walking into a Martin Scorsese film,
You're right.
it might be time to hang up might be time to hang up the pencil and pen or the keyboard in general, because that's not how this works. It's not how this works. People criticize me all the time for my passionate love for Fast and the Furious movies. I don't rate the Fast and the Furious movies the same way that I'm going to rate Killers of the Flower Moon. It's not the same thing. Period. End of story. But all right, let's talk about a few things. Dom did not see. I did see. I did go pay my hard-earned money to go see The Watchers. I do regret paying my hard-earned money to see The Watchers. It wasn't that good. There's interesting concepts, some decent concept ideas. It's just not good. It just wasn't executed very well. Kind of boring at times. Horror's just not doing so well this year when it comes down to it. I know Eminem Miller. I know you judge me for my love of Fast and Furious movies. I also judge you for all your terrible taste in film. But you know what? To me, The Watcher is not a good movie, not good at all. I will say this. As somebody, one of the select few of this world, I have seen the first 4 episodes of House of the Dragon season 2. I can say very little. You can see my full review over at Fandom Wire, which is completely, utterly spoiler free, because I couldn't say a whole lot of anything about what I watched. But what I can promise you, if you are a fan of Game of Thrones, if you're a fan of House of the Dragon season 1, you are in for a real treat, because this season, the first 4 episodes are just mind-blowing. And I know this is like a humble brag, but I was rewatching the first 4 episodes again, and I'm just still in awe of the spectacle that this series is. Do you watch House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I love the first season. Loved it.
So watching the season, it's crazy to me. So you have, I think, 7 or 8 seasons of the first season. It's crazy how good the casting is. Like, how do they do? Like, they do it so well. Your main principal characters are just so. I mean, I'm just telling you guys. I can't say much. I think that we might consider, doing something along the lines about some House of the Dragon stuff in the near future. But man, it's good.
It's man. Look, no slight or anything to our fantastic American actors, right? But British actors just seem to have a different level of dedication, and it could just be the realm of which acting is, how it's handled in Europe versus how it is over in America, because over here people look at it as more like celebrity and not the craft of acting, which is why when you have actors like Leo, or you have actors like Christian Bale, when they go into these full transformations or act a certain way, people look at them weird, and it's like, no, that's the craft of acting, and it's not appreciated as much over here by general audiences as it is over in the UK. I feel like a lot of them do theater because that's like the purest form of acting, and over here it's not. Theater isn't celebrated as much by the wide populace as it is over there. So I feel like that's part of the reason. But that first season, look, I never hopped on the Game of Thrones wagon. At the time, I remember I was living with one of my homies. He was watching Game of Thrones. I was watching The Walking Dead. And one of these shows kind of took off a little bit more than the other. And I wanted to hop on the train, and I just felt like it was too late. And I even with that gap between season 7 and season 8, I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and I started writing. I didn't have the time, so I did watch the first season of House of the Dragon because I heard it's before, so you didn't have to know as much. And I was like,
you don't.
Fuck, I need to go back and watch Game of Thrones at some point because this is phenomenal. The hype was 100% real. It's so good. And Matt Smith, man, I love Matt Smith. So as soon as I saw him attached, I was like, I gotta fucking watch this, man. It's Doctor Who.
I've never seen Doctor Who a day in my life, and I apologize for that, but I cannot stress enough how great he is in the show and how great he is in season 2, man. It's incredible, guys. You guys are in for a real treat when that stuff comes out. Finally, it's beautiful. But Dom, you got anything else did you watch?
So technically, I'm at Tribeca, virtually. So I did review They're Here, which is a documentary about an alien community or UFO community in upstate New York, and kind of is following these 4 participants in their as they describe what they've gone through, what they've seen, and through that, you see that they kind of unpack that they want to be part of a community or they need purpose. These type of things. It was pretty interesting. Rewatched Hitman. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. Fun movie. I rewatched Head of State because I feel like every political movie that we get is always so serious. And I remember always thinking about this movie that, it came out, I loved it. And then years later, we get Barack Obama. So I think this is a movie that people need to rewatch because Chris Rock's early films, as goofy as they were, had a ton of heart and great messages that are overshadowed by like the goofiness. I did watch the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. If y'all hating on this show, we're going to have problems, dog. This show is fantastic. It gets you right off the bat with the action to draw you in. You get this kind of crazy story where you have, I don't want to spoil it, but just watch it. And if you still like hate this or don't want to see any more of it, like, I'm sorry that your life sucks. I watched that Dancing for the Devil docuseries on Netflix. I haven't really looked to see the dialogue or the discourse online. I'm sure it's kind of divisive because the whole thing's kind of divisive. And then I watched the first episode of Go-Go Loser Ranger anime. I'm not huge into anime, but this one seems pretty cool. Love Power Rangers growing up, and this is like a spin on it. It's a lot of fun. I will look forward to watching the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, all of that sounds fantastic if you like those sorts of things. And I'm not mean it like that. What do we got this week? What do we have this week?
Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2, yes. We have a screener for that on Tuesday. We might be seeing another film on Saturday, we'll talk about that possibly. But yeah, so this should be a fun week. Inside Out. I'm actually looking forward to that. The trailer looks kind of good. So, yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the Popcorn People podcast. We will be back next week.
Peace.